In this video, we're going to talk about Minesweeper and the game that inspired its creation. As a kid, that was probably one of the first games I remember playing when we got a computer. I distinctly remember playing it when I was really bored. I would just click around on the tiles until the little face went bloop. It wasn't until much later that I realized what a mine was, and even longer for me to learn the rules. I'm talking adulthood when I learned the rules. It was still out of boredom that I learned how to play. I worked at a call center and there was quite a bit of downtime, and instead of improving my skills in my downtime, like management would have preferred, I chose to improve my minesweeping skills. Well, it was actually the Google browser version of the game, where you were like gardening and you found flowers, but it's the same concept of Minesweeper. But yeah, that's when I learned how to play the game, 20 years after I first played it. Rewinding for a moment, the origins of Minesweeper were actually on an entertainment bundle that came with Windows back in 1990. It was actually a software package. And if you look at the packaging, it is the most boring looking software to purchase. I imagine parents coming home and telling you they bought you a game and it looks like some sort of accounting software. Now, included in what was called the WEP, Windows Entertainment Program or something like that, among these games were an assortment of card games, Microsoft's version of Minesweeper, and one other program called IdleWild, which sounds really interesting, but it was actually just an assortment of screensavers. And I'm going to take a little detour here. All of the screensavers came with a credit to them. It would have the name of the screensaver, dancing lines with a brief description, colored line patterns, and then the author, it was by Brad Christian, as if he was some sort of artist that created this. Now, while I'm poking fun at the layout, it's actually kind of a great thing that they did that. Something as mundane as a screensaver had a credit, and it was front and center when you used it. I think this is a practice we should still have. We should be aware of the humans that make really cool stuff like this, because it was made by a human hand. It was made by a human hand who had the idea and made it real, both with programming and even artistic skill. Also, that guy is probably living it up somewhere in the south of France, carefree, living on that Microsoft screensaver money. Okay, we got a little sidetracked there, but with that first bundle came Minesweeper. But the origins of Minesweeper ebb back a little further than 1990 to a game that inspired its creation. That game was called Mind Out. It was originally released on something called the ZX Spectrum, which, while it has a cool sounding name, it was just the affordable version of a family home computer. What was weird is that it came with a keyboard and mouse, but you had to plug it into a tape recorder, and there weren't really monitors, so you could plug it into your TV. And I 100% have no clue how it works. So if you had one, or you remember how these work, comment down below and drop some knowledge on me so I can learn a little bit about that. Now, the game Mind Out was released in 1983 by Quicksilva. In Mind Out, you attempted to save little wormy ladies surrounded by mines. And it was kind of the same concept where you had to avoid mines. Now, the game does look pretty rough, but it seems like it was actually fun. I can see the strategy and trying to play the game and having a goal. It's pretty cool. Now, watching that game also made me think of how far games have come. That game progressed into what we became familiar with as Minesweeper, a piddly little time waster. It eventually evolved into much more detailed games. Now, it's the same concept. It's pixels that you control, and it tells a story. Now, the pixels have gotten smaller, the controls have gotten more complex, and the stories have gotten more fleshed out, but it's essentially the same thing, and they both tell a story. Video games have world building. They have characters you get attached to. They have a style of writing, a voice of the author. Books have the same thing. They have amazing graphics and detailed images that are painstakingly created with love and care, just like a painting. And video games, just like a painting or a good book, they can take you places. But they have a stigma. People say that it rots your brain. well, why doesn't a painting or a book rot your brain? Now, just as an aside, I guess people at certain points in history did consider books and certain pieces of art as threats to their sensibility, so I guess they're just going through the same thing. Overall, games are an expression of people's creativity that you get to enjoy. I think the right game can actually build empathy. It can teach you skills, give you a new perspective. Games can be thoughtful, and in reality, they're not all bang bang and bleep blorp. There's something a little deeper. They're works of art. Well, that was my video on Minesweeper. We took a little detour into a video essay about video games as a whole, but I'm glad you stuck with me. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, tell me down below in the comments, like and subscribe if you care to do so, and better yet, watch another one of my videos. Allie, the algorithm, really likes it when you do that, and so do I.